Y aquí, sí.
Yo siento un gran amor porque la verdad
I
es que
feel a lot of love for my land. Las Hermosas has beautiful landscapes and very productive soils. Let's say that the territory previously had a lot of, but thanks to God, due to the leadership and the ability of the people, we were able to have great incidents in many solutions in the territory. Let's say somehow is to face so many difficulties that we face day to day. And also we had trouble with the public forces because Lutheran World Relief is part of the demobilization process and negotiation with the guerrilla. So we started to have presence there to support the development of the plan of the Cañón de las Hermosas. The project protecting water resources in coffee landscapes has the objective of contributing to reduce pollution of the microbasin of Las Hermosas. Together with the families, we thought of an activity that could improve rural economy and reduce pollution of the water resources. One of them was the production of bio fertilizers through vermiculture. The objective of these biofertilizer units is to take advantage of this coffee pulp for the production of organic compost. With the construction of the garrucha or zip line, it really improves our families because it's a means of transportation for agricultural resources, and we also discourage the use of animals for transportation, and with that we also reduce erosion and the water resources. Well, before the garrucha, the means of transportation were the beasts, the mules. We took the loads down to the town, the remittances, and everything that we brought from town that we harvested in the farm. We used the mules, but now with the zip line, we have a lot of benefits and it really helps us. With biodigesters, we have reached three key things. One of them was the reduction of use of firewood for cooking. And this improves the health of women because these are the ones that are found cooking, and also the production of gas because it represents a very important annual economic savings, and also the fertilization of crops. It improves fertilizer because it's one of the byproducts of biofertilizer. So this project, along with the community, managed to identify more than 100 water sources belonging to the microbasin. Supported by the community, the project enclosed 37 out of 120 water springs. These types of projects do not intend to transform the entire country, but they intend to show how the country can be transformed little by little. We want to show things that works, that if they are done correctly, they can transform in a positive way the lives of the community. Our greatest hope is that the civil society itself becomes the agent of change. And civil society must have clarity about its priority and its solutions. And it's this sense, it's we, as course, as Lutheran World Relief in the Cañon Las Hermosas, we are very happy to be here because the leadership are conscious and to find what are the ways, and we want to support the transformation of coffee growing. This is achieved through aspects that go from economic, environmental, and social. Our hope is that what we have learned and what we have shown that works well for us, as well as our mistakes, it can be used in other institutions with greater capacities than ours, that they can emulate, that they can use these learning activities. Colombia, like many other countries in Latin America and other parts of the world, faces great challenges regarding water management. And water cannot be understood as something isolated from the soil and from other natural resources. We need that the environment corporation, the government, the ministry supports these kind of initiatives. This project is helping the community of Las Hermosas to recover its life and to recover its territory. It is helping these coffee growers to get closer to the concept of a dignified life. That is why these communities need this constant support to be able to continue walking this path that they have already started.
Bueno, me voy a permitir retomar la presentación. Entonces, en donde
Okay, so let's continue after watching this beautiful video.
bueno, yo creo que el video fue bastante ilustrativo de lo
I believe the video and the images are very illustrative of what we wanted to share, part of the results that we have achieved. And
que por acá
excuse me just a second.
hay un tema que nosotros a ustedes les
And
prometimos
there's a
para participar
topic
en esta
that
webinar,
we
y es
promised
compartir cuáles han sido
for
las
this
lecciones
webinar, and that is the lessons that we have learned during these 4 years. They go from aspects that we consider excuse me, your slides are not being seen very well. Can you fix that maybe a little bit, Eliana? Thank you.
Pero me voy a salir y voy a volver a ingresar.
Let me log out and log back in. Give me a second.
A ver si ahí ya mejora. Vamos a ver.
Let me see if we can improve it here.
Probablemente quedó alguna abierta. ¿Mejoró?
Ahí sigue un poquito, pero no importa, sigue.
Okay, we will continue like this.
Entre esos aciertos que nosotros queremos
So lessons learned that we have seen or lived during these 4 years. First is how we as an organization decided that our team had to live in the community. We had a whole team that lived with the people because we would understand them better. We understood the context much better, and it allowed us to really communicate with the people and to see how our solutions and the decisions were being implemented. And we did this hand in hand with the community. It was a totally participative process. So our team went to live there, and that's our recommendation. If it is possible that the team lives in the field, that really facilitates decision making. And also for the implementation of the project, we have a process of adaptation, the flexibility in the monitoring. It's a totally reviewing how the process is going and reviewing the small goals that we set. So from the point of view, the economic point of view, the biofertilization units have been very important. And for us, it has been very interesting to compare. When we arrived, the people did not grow their own crops and their own vegetables. So we helped them to use fertilizer from pulp of coffee and use it as a byproduct for fertilization, and that helped them grow their own crops. Also, we wanted to show you the biodigesters. This has been very important. It allows us to manage the waste from the household and from the animals. It improves the health of the women because it reduces burning wood for fire. So here we have the gas and we have the biodigesters as a great, great help for improving the life of the people. The zip line has also been very important. It's called garrocha, and it has been key for transportation because the area, like you saw, has a lot of mountains, has a lot of slopes, and transportation is very difficult. Sometimes a road is unthinkable, or thinking about a road would be in a very long term. So the zip line has been very important for transportation of all kinds of goods. This is innovation. And this zip line has been innovation that has improved in many areas, the community. It has been a very interesting solution. And something else that we wanted to mention, it's a very simple solution. It's to protect and close the water springs and to close those water springs and basins. So those activities are small activities, but they have a very big impact, and we improve the capabilities of the people, not only knowledge, but technical skills that are very basic and that can improve the people's lives and that can be replicated. These skills that they now have, they can be easily replicated in other parts of the country. Let's continue to other lessons learned. The accompaniment. We also believed and we have realized during these years to be present and to hold the hand of the community walking this new path has been very important. If we do not live in the field, it would have been much more difficult to make many changes. So that has been key, the accompaniment in being living in the field. The collective benefit and the impact investment. The collective benefit has to work hand in hand with the impact of the invest. And the private sector comes here into play. It's not only to build a processing plant, but to really have an impact on the families' lives. There are other things, the crop growing terraces that we still have to improve. The terraces are important for growing and for handling the soils. The greenhouses are also important. Sometimes in the family, it can be a small greenhouse for the family or a bigger greenhouse for other kinds of, not only for the coffee plants, but for also fruit trees and other trees that would benefit the area, to do reforestation. And also the gap between generations and the gap of the sexes is also important. So we also worked on the gender equity. And the fourth one is leadership. We need leaders. Always we need leaders. And the leaders sometimes are way too busy, and other leaderships are kind of lost. So it's not to have one only leader, but to divide the chores and have several leaders so that the project can flow better. Well, to close my presentation, I would like to mention that this territory has huge opportunities, not only coffee growing, but other biodiversity, rural tourism, memory tourism, nature tourism. So we would love that our audience, and we are sure that we have people in the audience that have other capabilities and capacities to help us continue working in this effort and stimulating tourism and other activities in these areas in El Cañón de las Hermosas. Thank you so much. Thank you, Liliana. Very good presentation. Thank you so much. Now we are going to have a conversatory with Emilio as moderator. So go ahead, Emilio. Thank you, Liliana, for your presentation. Very kind. Welcome to all the audience. I wanted to emphasize, to highlight the honor that it has been for the team of Lutheran World Relief to have been there living with the community, and we received all the support from the community, children, women, men, leaders, and other organizations that we have mentioned that right now they are going over this difficult period of conflict. We also want to thank, in behalf of the institution, Starbucks Foundation and Osprey Foundation, Felipe Sarde, he is also going to be here, Raúl Hernández from Federación Nacional de Caballeros, and Natalia León from WaterAid. And they are important help for Osprey Foundation. Also, we're going to have a conversatory, and we are going to have several representatives from the mayor's office of Chaparral, Héctor Yate as representative from the Secretary of Planning, Leonardo Argiles, who is the manager of EMPO Chaparral, that's the utility company, Mr. Bravo, who is the director of Corpo Tolima, and also two important leaders of the region, Blanca Lilia Avila. She is the president of the board of the community, and Edward Campos, who is the leader of ASO Hermosas, who is also part of this basin. I would like to explain to everybody in the audience, we are recording the event, and all the information, all the videos and everything is going to be available for all the public. Like Liliana was saying before, we want other institutions that maybe can be interested in helping these forgotten territories can use everything that we have learned. And I mean, it's for the world. What we have learned is for the world, not only applied to Colombia, they can be adapted to other contexts. So welcome all the members of the conversation. So please turn on your cameras. Mr. Héctor Yate, Planning Secretary, Leonardo Ariles, Manager of EMPO Chaparral, Danilo Bravo, Edward Campos, and Blanca Lilia Avila. Can you please turn on your cameras? For us, it is very important your time. It's very important that you are here and you can feel free to speak and feel free to talk here. We have some questions to motivate the discussion. These are from Blanca and Edward, but if the other participants want to speak, they are welcome. It's about the greatest difficulties. What were the greatest challenges? What were the greatest conflicts that you had during the project? So Blanca and Edward, you can open your microphones. I am going to control time. We have around 11 a.m. We have 20 minutes for discussion, and we have like 3 questions to motivate the discussion. Mrs. Blanca and Mr. Edward.
Me presento, mi nombre es Blanca Lilia Ávila. Corrijo, no soy presidente de la...
Good day. I have been collaborating as the secretary of the board of the community. Among the difficulties that we had in the project, it was a very ambitious project, and we were involved. 7 rural areas were participating, and we really benefited from the project. In the beginning, we didn't understand very well the activities, and there was not a lot of commitment or participation. But as time went by, people really understood what the project was about, and they got more committed and participated more and more. Several families got involved. It's 7 rural areas that we participated, and it was basically that. That would be my comment, that in the beginning we didn't understand very well how the project was going to be, but then the participation and the commitment really increased as we understood. Thank you, Blanca. Thank you so much. Mr. Edward? Edward, can you tell us a little bit about the difficulties that you faced? What were the main challenges?
Buenos días. Un saludo muy especial para todos los panelistas y todos los que en el momento.
Greetings to everybody and to all the panelists.
No, pues yo creo que lo más fue.
Well, the most important thing, the inconvenient, was mostly because of the fears. We were a community that was afraid. We were afraid because we have had a lot of conflicts, armed conflict in our area. So in the beginning, we were a little bit afraid, I have to say, because we didn't understand very well the project. And we were maybe afraid to trust, afraid to work with others. But then as the project developed, we really understood what it was about, and the participation increased, and then we trusted them, and then we got more committed as time went by. So that is why we see important results right now for all the community. We improved the water protection, the recovery of the creek called San Jorge. Thank you, Mr. Edward. Now I'm going to ask you the same thing to Danilo, Edwin, or Hector. Do you want to say something about this? What were the difficulties? What do you think? What do you think are some lessons learned that we can apply to future projects? Something that you thought was difficult about the project and challenges? Good day. Warm greetings to everybody and to all the communities of Las Hermosas that are here. As representative of Epo Chaparral, I consider we didn't have any difficulties. On the other hand, I have to say that we learned a lot and many positive things that we can apply to our future lives and also to the utility company, because it has great incidence to Las Hermosas, because we use the Rio Amoya and the Creek San Jorge. So really, for us, we had no difficulties. For us, we really took advantage of all the help and all the improvements. Good day, everybody. Unfortunately, one of the lessons is that in the beginning, we didn't believe in the process. In the beginning, as public organizations, from my side, we didn't see much of a future of a project like this from a stranger, and we didn't know them. So back then, when the project started, we didn't believe, and there was not much articulation. But as time went by, we understood the importance of the project, and we realized how positive impact this was going to have in the whole micro basin. So we got engaged as time went by, and we began to work together, and we supported the process.
De igual manera, comparto también.
I also share the opinion of Mr. Danilo, of Mr. Leonardo, and we, as the mayor's office, as management, we support these kind of projects, and we learn from experience. New projects, sometimes we don't believe in new projects, but as time went by and we saw the actions and we saw how it worked, we really got engaged and we supported them, because we want the institution, the institutionality to be reflected. The different institutions, I mean, it's not only the private institution, but the idea is to work all together to support biodiversity, support water protection, the landscape protection.
Bueno, muchísimas gracias a todos los participantes.
Thank you so much to all the participants. I would like to continue listening to Blanca, Edward. What are the lessons learned? What really caught your attention? What do you think was the most valuable lessons that you learned, or things that were improved that you want to mention, that you want to highlight to consider in the future? Ms. Blanca, do you want to speak first?
Muchas gracias por la participación.
Thank you so much for the participation. Thank you so much for including us, for this great opportunity of participating in this great webinar. There are many, many lessons, valuable lessons learned, but I would like to focus in two main lessons. First, we realize that we have to change our mindset. And I'm speaking in behalf of the community. We have changed our mindset, and we really appreciate the richness of our land. Many people say that we live in a paradise, that we live in a beautiful place, but now we really believe it. We have changed our mindset that our land is valuable, that we have to protect it, and to find a way to improve and replicate it in other places with our neighbors, with our friends. Now with internet, the communication has improved, and we have a lot of richness in water resources, and we have to protect our water and be aware of it. It's a great treasure, and we have to protect it. That's the first thing. In the second place, I believe that in the innovation, the proposal from Lutheran, they did innovation. They innovated in many different things that improved our well-being. So innovation, sometimes we do not understand it, but we have to dare to innovate. They came here and they worked with us hand in hand. We listened to them carefully, and we began working with them. So if the other institutions, they can be NGOs, they can be private, they can be public. If you want to come here in this sector to collaborate and support us, we will be open. We will be available. And now we want to learn more and continue executing what we have learned up to now. It has been a very innovative proposal. It has been 4 years of work and 4 years living here. And we have been learning from them and replicating what we learn. It's a way so that we can all improve. So this is possible if there is a will. And once we see that things are possible and true, then we will participate more and more. Thank you, Ms. Blanca. Mr. Edward, lessons learned, maybe some things that you want to highlight, Mr. Edward? Well, the most important thing that I would like to highlight is that Lutheran understood the development plan of the communities and that they came to live here and to implement and make things real, made ideas real, and that they were part of the development plan. And sometimes the things are only in paper and things cannot be implemented. But here we saw that things came true. With new technologies and new innovations, we can do very interesting things like they were mentioning in the presentation. The zip line, for example, was a great advancement, a great innovation. It's an impact in the lives of the people, and it helps the communities progress. It improves the quality of lives of the people. And the biodigesters is also a beautiful, very interesting process as new technologies. The topic of the reservoirs and other technologies of waste management is very interesting. And this helps us improve the quality of life and protecting our environment of the micro-basin. What is most positive is to reduce pollution from the creek San Jorge, because the water from San Jorge goes to the aqueduct of Chaparral. Thank you, Edward. I want now Liliana to show a video that speaks about the zip line. This zip line is a transportation system. Liliana, can you show, please, the video of the zip line?
La garrucha entró porque con el programa de Lutheran.
Zipline started with the help of Lutheran to improve the micro-basin. And it was a request, a need that the community had. Before the zip line, we had to transport everything by mule, the remittances, everything, the crops, everything we had to be transported by mule. And it was very difficult because during the rainy season, the roads were terrible for the mules, and it was very difficult to travel. The zip line is a great alternative because the dirt roads are very muddy during the rainy season, and for the people it was very difficult And this also increased the landslides and the mudslides. When we started the territory, we were the first international organization to work in this territory. The territory had a history of more than 50 years of violence and armed conflict. But after signing the peace treaty, we began working here, and we had to work with the community so that they trusted us, so they understood what we wanted to do, how we wanted to improve their lives, so the social tissue could get strengthened. So we began getting organized with the community, and we had to do it together. So we built it together, and we began working with the help of Lutheran. Lutheran helped us with the technology, and we helped to set it up. The zipline is an example of innovation. It's a solution for the people of this area. And we really need alternative transportation systems that can be cheap. They are not expensive, but at the same time, they have a low environmental impact. So I believe that the state should support this kind of initiative. Sometimes it is much easier to build a zip line than a road, because roads are very expensive and very difficult. But now the zip line is a great solution. I believe that zip lines are a great help to many, many areas of these mountain regions, and it's environmental friendly. I hope that the government and that the private institutions can continue supporting us. Not only us, but to many other areas that have problems with transportation, because we have a lot of slopes, we have a lot of mountains. It's a clean way to help us, and it does not affect the environment.
Mil gracias, Liliana.
Thank you
Entonces,
so much, Liliana. So, final comments. Do you want to comment anything? We are almost closing this session. So, Edwin, Danilo, your last remarks. Thank you, Emilio. There are important things that I want to highlight from the process. The lessons learned, I would begin by saying that the basic word to start with is believing. We have to believe in the people, believe in the process. And these 4 years have been very fruitful. Believe in the community, and also with the help of Lutheran in the territory, that technical support is fundamental. And when Andrea was speaking about the social fabric, well, I have to say that the people are strong, are hardworking, and they had already organizations like ASO Hermosas because they wanted to work together. And ASO Hermosas has been working hard for all the community. And work together with ASO Hermosas also has been very important. And it is very important to start with the basis, to validate and believe in the knowledge that the farmers have is important, and to build together from the basis up and build from down up with knowledge, with support. And we have seen the people. So the word that I propose is believe in the people. Thank you so much, Danilo. Dr. Edwin, Dr. Hector, to finish. I consider that the work with the community, with different actors, is fundamental to be successful. We have different actors with different actions. We really have to work from the governance. And I'm speaking from Expo Chaparral. We have to continue working on the needs of the communities, not only from the urban area, but from the rural areas as well, that they require utilities, they require water and water supply. And if they have any other projects in agriculture, they will always need the water. So that's a lesson learned, that we have to work together and continue working so that there is equity among all the community, so that we can improve the well-being of the people. Thank you, Edwin. We are going to continue working in this. We are almost closing now. Hector, do you want to say something before we go to the next session? Mr. Hector?
Danilo, por favor.
Okay, Danilo, do you want to say something? I see your hands raised.
Creíamos que podríamos aportar también de cómo desde la institucionalidad podríamos
From the institutionality, we have to continue working and continue building. I don't know if there's a second phase of the panel, or maybe we can speak about that here. In the second part of the panel, we are going to continue speaking about this. So, Ms. Blanca, can you close the conversation so we go to the second session? Thank you so much for your participation. So, Ms. Blanca, can you close?
Bueno, gracias por darme esta nueva oportunidad
Thank you so much for allowing me to participate again and to speak to you, to everybody in the audience. So to finish, my opinion to conclude is to invite other institutions that can come here and participate, because we have an empowered community that works hard, and we want more help, guidance, we could say, like a friendly hand to continue working, continue progressing. We have the resources, and we need even more help, or more help to continue protecting the environment and the water. We as a community are open and available to continue working together with other institutions to benefit us all. Thank you, Ms. Blanca. Thank you, Ms. Blanca. Let's continue with the next session. Tatiana, now the floor is yours. Thank you so much. Now, the second part of the event, we have some important guests, important speakers that we wanted to invite them, because there are other organizations that are working in these areas of water protection in coffee landscapes. So I want to give the floor to our first guest, Matea Fleshman. Matea is Manager of Global Sustainability of Coffee and Tea in Starbucks, and she is focused in women and teenagers in these communities. So Matea, welcome. We are very proud to have you here. Now the floor is yours. Thank you so much. Your invitation. We are very happy and excited to listen to everything that you have done. I'm going to continue in English because my Spanish is not very good. Thank you so much.
As Tatiana shared, I'm a 5-year partner at Starbucks on the Global Coffee, Tea, and Cocoa team. And I am so happy to be here with all of you today on a very special month. We know that all year is Earth Day, but this month especially, we focus on all we're doing together and what we can do going forward in the future. And just to share a little bit about our team, the Global Coffee, Tea, and Cocoa team, we're really focused on how we can take work to scale and use our convening power to influence and impact coffee, tea, and cocoa industry in a way that's sustainable, transparent, and good for people and planet. And like many of you, we've been challenged the past year at the Starbucks Foundation, particularly due to COVID-19, and there's an entirely new set of constraints. But since 1997, there have been many challenges since the Starbucks Foundation was established, and all of the work of the Starbucks Foundation is focused on strengthening humanity by transforming lives across the world with a focus on enabling community and resilience, community resiliency and prosperity, while also uplifting communities impacted by disasters across the world. In 2018, the Starbucks Foundation set a pretty ambitious goal. And Tatiana, I think you have some slides I'd love to share at this point.
Yes, just give me a second. I will open it here.
Okay, thank you. Well, just as we're waiting for the presentation, the Starbucks Foundation set a goal on International Women's Day in 2018 to empower and advance economic opportunities for 250,000 women and girls in coffee, tea, and cocoa communities by 2025. And what that means is all the work is focused on specifically water, sanitation, hygiene, women's leadership, including education, entrepreneurship training, and finally focused on healthy homes, everything from clean cooking equipment to rainwater capture to savings and loans. There we are.
Oops.
This is the first one. There we go. Thank you. And what's beautiful about our commitment that you're seeing now in the presentation is that Lutheran World Relief has been a partner of the Starbucks Foundation since 2014. And the women, you can go on to the next slide, Tatiana, please. And the women in newly emerging coffee regions in Tolima is an incredible project that's really been focused over the past several years, working with women in Las Hermosas, as you've all been learning, a coffee community in the municipality of Chaparral in the south of Tolima, Colombia. And this project has really been focused on improving sanitation and greater economic opportunities for women in Tolima. And throughout the project, this has been focused on strengthening women's associations, increasing access to finance, microloans, women's leadership across the cooperative, and gender equity training for 3,000, up to 3,000 people by the end of the project. And this is an enormous number, 3,000 people. As you can see in the slide, 2,317 people have been impacted to date. But it's not until we zoom in on the individuals impacted that we're truly able to see the resiliency and scale of impact in coffee communities. So traveling to Tolima, which we all know is quite remote, and we've spoken about on this call so far, a very mountainous region. It's been really impressive to observe the project and see how the community has been coming together to improve sanitation technologies and training for water sanitation and hygiene. Excuse me, sorry. The presentation keeps going in and out for me. And not only focusing on the WASH training, but also focusing on capacities of the women. Oh, not yet. Do you mind going back a slide, please? Go back 2 slides.
This
So the
one?
one that was focused.
This one?
Nope, staying on the same project, on the Lutheran World Relief project. So not that one back. So the Tolima project, which was 2 slides back. So just go right there. Yeah, just stay there for just a moment more, please. Thank you so much. So this project particularly has been focused on not only the water sanitation and hygiene work, but also the capacity, improving the capacity of the women's organizations, including a commercialization fund. And the program was specifically designed to address the unaddressed needs and voice of the coffee communities in Tolima. And by applying LWR's methodology and applying kind of the gender integrated agricultural model, they've not only been able to promote access to resources, encourage women and men to share responsibility for decision making through the agricultural tasks, savings, and community participation. But through this, women have realized that they have a voice and effectiveness in the coffee community, which we've already been hearing today. And the WASH or water sanitation hygiene training particularly has led to community-led trainings and improved water sanitation hygiene with the women of Asomukar Co-op Women's Association. And the construction of 82 water and sanitation units, both constructed and updated over the past several years. And we know that women being WASH promoters or water technocrats is kind of the foundation of creating a ripple effect in coffee communities. And after an unprecedented year where prevention and hygiene practices have been so critical, it's been amazing to see how these communities have been able to reach even more individuals in the community through this knowledge, capacity building, and prevention communication. And one participant in particular that stood out through some of the work that Lutheran World Relief has shared is Diana Cuellar, the VP of the Women's Association, Asomukar. And she shared that the project hasn't just helped, it has helped us all. It hasn't just helped her, but helped the entire community. And the washing has changed our understanding of hygiene. We have realized how important it is to prevent diseases in our homes. We have a legacy at Starbucks of focusing on projects or programs that have continually evolved and responded to the needs. And if you don't go to the next slide, the water is a human right, and 1 in 10 people around the world lack even basic drinking water as a water source within 15 minutes of their home. This number will only continue to rise as our populations grow, and the average distance needed to travel to get to this water is around 4 miles. Typically, this is across all global coffee communities on average, based on WaterAid's calculations. However, this does not guarantee that water is collected is safe drinking. Reducing, just the next slide, Tatiana, please. Tatiana, do you mind going to the next slide, please? Whether it's reducing, yeah, there we go, thank you. Whether it's reducing coffee's impact on the environment or helping farmers be more profitable, supporting coffee communities using our platform to tell farmers' stories, we know that we have the opportunity to use our scale for good. And I'm so proud that recently and very excited to share that we announced our ambition of being carbon neutral for green coffee and conserving 50% of water in coffee processing by 2030. And as Kevin Johnson said, our aspiration is to become a resource positive, storing more carbon than we emit, eliminating waste, and providing more clean, fresh water than we use. And this aspiration is grounded in the Starbucks mission by embracing longer-term economic planetary value proposition for our company. Will not only create greater value, will only create a greater value for our company long-term and stakeholders. And this has really been the essence of Starbucks from the beginning as a leader in coffee responsibility through our own cafe practices standard. And this ambition, we're really focused on some very exciting work in coffee communities. So focused on traditional coffee processing, as we all know, is very intensive. And with 200,000 wet mills in Starbucks coffee or cafe practices supply chain, we have the opportunity to conserve water by ensuring that farmers have access to more environmentally friendly machines or milling equipment, which also standardizes quality and increases proficiency for farmers. We're focusing on the goal, of course, of achieving 50% conservation of water usage by 2030. So what that means is, one, we'll be conserving water by directly investing in new ecological wet mills. And secondly, we'll be investing in making current water processing technology and machinery even more efficient and developing water replenishment projects in coffee communities. As a part of the Starbucks longer term water strategy, the company will also be developing these water replenishment projects, which we've been speaking about a little bit today at Origin. And this focus will be on communities and water basins with high water risk. So Starbucks has recently joined the Water Resilience Coalition as a way to improve the health of water basins that are critical to both providing water for people and agriculture. If you don't mind going to the next slide, Tatiana, there are several projects that are currently happening alongside improvements in the milling equipment and the water processing technology that's being developed. And of course, this is with Lutheran World Relief that I shared a little bit more about today. And we're also doing industry collaboration with Mercy Corps in India with several individuals in the tea community focused on piped water and circular water sanitation solutions. And we've scaled some work in India as well with Tata Trust and Tata Water Trust, again, focused on circular water solutions to have safe, improved environmental sanitation infrastructure. And finally, most recently, I've been working with Source on circular water innovation and safe, clean, and renewable drinking water solutions. So really, the work has just begun, and together we know that we're taking action and creating opportunities for the next generation, but we cannot do it without each other. So I'm very grateful for the Lutheran World Relief team and all those that took the time to participate today, so we can all learn from each other and think of ways that we can do more in the years to come to accelerate and move faster together. So thank you so much for creating the space to share.
Thank you all so much, Matea. We really appreciate your support as foundation, the work that we have been doing, and we look forward to continue interacting together in that long path that we have in front in order to improve all our performance in many, many ways. We have admiration of the dimension of Starbucks as company and the foundation with the commitments that you have, that you already stated quite clearly. So you can count with Chorus Lutheran World Relief in order to continue that interaction. Thank you very much. Now we have Felipe Sardi, if I'm not wrong, from Biodiversal. Felipe, very welcome. Thank you so much for coming. Disculpa, Felipe, qué pena.
Tranquilo. Al revés. Perdón. Adelante, Tatiana.
No, dale. No, quería presentarles a Felipe.
I wanted to introduce Felipe. Felipe has founded several companies in the last 10 years. We have him here with us today, so he has a lot of experience. The floor is yours. Thank you so much for this space. To Emilio, to Lutheran World Relief for the invitation. Tatiana, Natalia, thank you so much. I have been listening to these marvelous interventions. These kind of initiatives, in my opinion, are the way that we can create tangible and intangible value of the chain of coffee, taking care of our most valuable resource, the water. So that's the idea, to generate a value that can be projected to the future as even more valuable. Let me share my screen and show you some benefits.
Muchas gracias. Voy a compartir con ustedes una presentación
I'm
muy
going
breve.
to be very brief in my presentation, and I divide it in 3 areas. Like you first say, the context. I just wanted to remind you about the coffee landscapes in Colombia, then speak a little bit about the challenges and the current status of the water resource, and then some challenges. But these challenges should be seen as opportunities for the industry and for the people of El Cañón de las Hermosas. So the first thing, Colombia has a lot of agricultural areas, and I wanted to highlight that according to FAO, Colombia has the highest rainy areas of the whole South America. So we have a very valuable water resources in our basins. And we have to really know how to protect and handle these valuable resources because we are facing a climate change. How are we using the soil in Colombia? In agriculture, it's 5%, 5 million hectares. Harvested areas are 4.5 million, and producing 32.5 million tons. Zones for pasture and cattle growing, 31 million. And then we can see others. What happens? So here, if we graph this in the surface planted with agricultural products, coffee is the main one, as you see in the top. We see that coffee is the greatest crop product. This is important because coffee represents a relevant footprint, and we really have to know how to protect the coffee landscape. And we have to learn how to handle our water resource. In exports, without any doubt, it's the highest ones. Second would be flowers. Third would be bananas. And it's a very high value if we consider the whole productive chain. And the way we approach the future of coffee is very important for its sustainability. Challenges about sustainable development. It's no secret that we are the most diverse countries of the world, but we are threatened. If we continue using the traditional agricultural methods, like you see on the graph on the right, we are changing the landscape to deserts in the future if we don't take care of the landscape. We have more than 4,000 species of birds and animals, and they are threatened. In all the crops, 30% of the varieties of crops is mostly monocrops. Those are the predominant ways of growing crops. Only one crop. They don't diversify. About the water, in a recent article I read, the crop that consumes the most water is coffee, 22%, followed by corn, 13%, rice, and sugarcane. So we really need to focus in reducing the impact in the water resource. And it's a very relevant question. To produce a coffee cup, we need 140 liters of water. And that is very shocking. Just one cup of coffee, we need 140 liters of water. And we need to find solutions. We need to reduce the use of water in producing coffee, and we need to increase the protection of water. And there are two paths. One, we process coffee in a different way, be innovative in that kind of processing, using less water, using innovation. That's the first path. And together we have to find ways of using less water in coffee processing. And number two, the second path, we can work in both paths at the same time. We have to plant and grow and work in our soils in a different way. So we have to work simultaneously in these two. And we have a marvelous opportunity, in my opinion. And we have to challenge the status quo, not only our status quo, but I'm speaking about Indonesia and other coffee areas. Sometimes they have, we have to reevaluate if it really is worth it to continue processing coffee like we are processing it right now. And that is what we're working on with Lutheran World Relief.
A retar el status quo y a invertir en la infraestructura más importante de Colombia en cafés naturales. Esto que ustedes ven aquí, como por supuesto saben,
And like you know, like you see in the slide, it's a way to process water, process coffee, excuse me, without water.
Y de resto,
It's a totally different way of processing. They don't use wet mills like it is done in other countries. Here, the challenge is to use science, technology, and innovation to do it in a correct way without losing the value of our coffee. And that is what we did in this process, and we have been doing it for a few years now. Since 2016, 2017, the harvest in the Sierra Nevada is only once a year, around October up to January, February. And in Sierra Nevada, we began working. Right now, we're working around with 70 small farms, different zones of La Sierra, and we have processed 600 tons of coffee without water. We have saved 4.26 million liters of water. And we have processed different kinds of coffee, and we have tripled the export price of coffee. We have done investment in development, in production, and it has traceability. It's some steps forward that we need to work on more development, more investment, but it's an excellent example to show people that this is possible. Things can be done differently. And if we are working together with the second path, this second path is even more important because we have to face climate change. How do we use and handle our soils. This is the landscape of our coffee landscape. This is the coffee landscape of our countries. It's monocrop. It's a single crop. It washes the soil. It does not help to the erosion. It has a high carbon footprint, and it's the traditional way to do it. And that's the way we have seen it, and we analyze the performance per hectare. And that's the way that we have done it. But this, unfortunately, has given a lot of degradation of the soil. Each year, 75 billion tons of fertile soil are lost because of the soil degradation, and 12 million hectares are lost because they are made into deserts and because of drought. What are we proposing? We propose to think different. It's not easy. We have to change the mindset, and this is what FAO says. And it speaks about healthy soils with a lot of organic material, like we see right here with vermiculture, like they're doing it in Las Hermosas. And we have to improve water retention, not to generate floods and to stop mudslides, to stop all that erosion. We need to capture more humidity in the land and prevent the erosion. How this is done? Then our coffee families have to be prepared. It's a challenge. Of course, we understand it's a challenge of approaching how we plant, how we treat the soil. Let's forget about fertilizers. Let's forget about single crops. And let's open our minds of doing things differently. The initiatives, the things that are done in Las Hermosas are the first steps forward to generate more resilience, taking care of our soil and our water. Biodiversal, what we want to generate is ideas. Ideas from agroecology to implement different things in the coffee farms. It's like a think tank, and we try to generate profit in a circular economy platform. And we do that starting with agroecologic design, and we have to invest and do things differently. And Lutheran World Relief has helped us in this research, in this new development, and then we apply them to the productive area. We use some pilot parcels, and then we scale it up to thousands of farms and include it in the production way. What have we done of alternatives, taking care of the soil? We have a pilot farm and some students from the Universidad Nacional. It's a team of 15 people. And we're working in different kinds of methodologies that are most effective in producing organic fertilizers that are derived from the same farm and the waste products of the farm. So we're working in different lines, and the goals are socioeconomic resilience. We have to increase the net income. We have to generate value, at least 20% of more profit. Second, we have to keep in mind biodiversity. We need more cash flow. We need at least 4 lines. We need more involvement of the new generations and the women. And we need digital inclusion. The farms have to be connected digitally. And finally, on the right, to have environmental resilience. We have to involve 8 species per hectare in water retention and soil improvement. We want 50% of the fertilizer to be organic and produced directly in the farm, because organic matter is key for many processes to fix carbon and improve fertilizing. And we have to reduce our carbon footprint. We want our farms to be carbon neutral, or at least carbon, or maybe even carbon negative. That would be a higher goal. And to have other crops that will help us manage water efficiently.
Esto de la mano del trabajo de las pequeñas familias caficultoras
We
para
want to do this to reach 50,000 families by 2030. We tested the projects, and we do a pilot plan, and we scale them to small groups, around 30, 100 families, and then we multiply it by 10 up to thousands of families. And we would like to reach Cañón de las Hermosas to propose different productive lines, maybe other productive lines that will help us generate value. This is my last slide. Don't look at it as an opportunity, not like a problem. This is a reality of the coffee world. The export countries, around $200 billion calculated. On the left hand, exporter countries that have 74% of their production is exported. We, around 25 million families that are involved in the coffee areas, don't receive 10% of the total gain, of the total income, of the total profit. So what we have to see here is not the problem. What we have to see here is the opportunity, because it's a huge opportunity ahead that we have, changing the methodology and how the new practices require more contribution and require more price.
Por una libra adicional, diferenciándolo por prácticas como las de regeneración. ¿Sí? Podríamos ver.
Here we can see the price per pound. It can be up to 5 times the value if we do things differently. So if we have different practices. So it's a great news. It's a great opportunity, because in the future, there is a lot of opportunity for improving the income and the profit of the families. We have to be more efficient, but we have to do it in a scaled way, step by step. And there are many ways that we can work on to improve our profit of these families, and in the efforts that we all can work on. Thank you, Felipe, for your talk. It's a provocative talk, but Felipe represents a company called Biodiversal. We have been working with them for a few years now, and he is a partner in the long path ahead. Thank you so much, Felipe, for your presentation. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Raúl Hernández. Excuse me. We have the mayor of the municipality, El Chaparral. So I don't know if we could give him, excuse me, who is this?
Hello?
Excuse me, who is this?
Era Héctor Yates diciendo que está conectado el alcalde de Chaparral, pero yo creo que
Héctor Yate.
terminemos las presentaciones y luego abrimos.
Just saying that the mayor finally got connected, but unfortunately we are short of time. So let's wait and see. Let's wait and see if we have time at the end. Right now we have Federación de Cafeteros. So let's continue with the agenda. Okay, Raúl Jaime Hernández, thank you so much. He is Director of Environmental Management at Federación Nacional de Cafeteros. Thank you, Raúl. The floor is yours. Thank you, Tatiana, Emilio, Liliana, and all the event organizers. We want to thank and celebrate the Earth Day. And what a better topic than speaking about water. So from our side, Federación Nacional de Cafeteros, we wanted to share how we see the future. How is our future if we guarantee the correct use of water? Before starting with my presentation, I would like to speak about the context. And we have spoken of this before, but we have not really highlighted. When we speak about water, there are different kinds of water that we use in different activities in the crop growing and crop processing, and the concepts of water footprint. The blue water is from the natural resources that comes directly from the rivers. Green water is raindrops. It's rain waters or snow in some cases. And gray water, that's the one that we are most worried about. It's the quantity of water that we would need to clean polluted water. The water that we have polluted, the quantity of water that we would need to clean that. So that is 3 kinds of water. So the idea is that we have to protect the blue water and the green water. And it's part of the system, it's part of the water footprint, and it is needed to produce coffee. It's different in the processing of coffee, and that it's difficult to change because coffee processing needs a certain amount of water. This is a summary of the non-negotiable and how can we protect the coffee landscape. This is not El Cañón de las Hermosas, but it is a good representation of what a coffee landscape looks like. And these are non-negotiable. The first one would be the conservation of forests and springs, the closing and conservation of the basins, reforestation or planting trees, protection of the soil, manage of solid waste, and to decrease the use and avoid the water pollution. we have to work in several fronts so that we protect different steps or different areas. For example, planting trees is very important around water and in the different farms. It is important for the ecosystem, so we have to plant trees as well. What Felipe was saying, that another effort is protecting the soil. The soil has to be protected. We need all the actions to avoid the destruction, erosion of the soil, and that is done not only with single crops or not single crops, but we need a good coverage on the soil. Independent of the production strategy, the soil has to be protected. Never, ever can it be naked to protect the soil. Something important that has also been mentioned in the previous presentation is how to treat the solid wastes. And inadequate handling of the solid waste really impacts the environment. So we have to improve that. And finally is where I want to focus on, is to decrease the use of water and avoid its pollution. Speaking about the water footprint, the production, the processing, fabrication, distribution, consumption, and final disposal. But I want to concentrate on the first two steps of the supply chain of coffee. Coffee production begins with the small plant until we have the cherry, like we see in the screen. In the bottom, we are seeing the measurement of water just for 1 cup of coffee. We are using 206.8 liters of water for 1 cup of coffee. So what does that mean? And that's just the traditional process. And here is rainwater mostly. So here we don't have the possibility to say that we could use less water. But in the greenhouse, we do have the possibility of decreasing the use of water. If we had an efficient or a different way of using the water in the greenhouse, that would really help and reduce the use of water to 40 liters of water per cup of coffee. That would be a reduction of 80% of the water, not because we're changing the production, but we are taking better or different decisions in the use of the water. And here, there's a great commitment from the institutionality of the coffee growers. This is step 2. This is the processing. Once we have the nut and the mucilage, and here we see the same example. The water consumption in the second step is 0.88 liters per cup of coffee. We are speaking about the pulping, fermentation, drying. and threshing. We could also be more efficient and reduce the water consumption to 0.18 liters. That would be an 80% reduction. And here there's an important point. Here is where we are polluting the water. And we have to be responsible because this is a gray footprint and we don't want that. And also the responsibility is not only from the coffee grower. We also have a broad audience. How are we preparing that cup of coffee in our farms? And here we need also to be efficient because now this is the consumer that has the responsibility in the coffee preparation in our homes. And we have to include that, and it's also an invitation to the consumer to review the use of water in the preparation of coffee. So in summary, these three stages have a great green footprint and gray footprint in the post-harvesting, and we have a blue footprint. But we have to focus in the negative impact of the gray water. And that's where we want to invite all of our coffee growers. We have to transform our processing of the coffee. We have to change the conventional method that use more than 40 liters to wash 1 kilogram of coffee. So we need to use innovation, we need to use technology because they have been proven to be effective where we decrease the gray footprint. Today, the Day of the Earth, and celebrating this scenario of protecting the water, the invitation that I want to close with, and I want to close this webinar, is to invite all the coffee growers to get together, to be allied, to continue using the resources like this project recommended, and like Emilio was saying, little by little, we can transform the landscape. The coffee parcels are 673,000. So we have 673 scenarios to improve, to transform, by transforming the landscape and by using new technology, by using new methods and decreasing the gray footprint. And that's a negative impact to our planet. Life doesn't count the steps that you have given. What it counts is the footprint that you have left behind. So this is not only for El Cañón de las Hermosas, but to all of our coffee growers. We have to know how to use water responsibly. And thank you so much. Thank you, Doctor, for your presentation. We can continue debating, and this is a long topic. We have diverse positions. We don't have to agree on everything. We are respectful of different ways of thinking, and we want to follow the correct path. And we always offer the possibility of conversation. We are always very open. And with these words, I continue with the agenda. Thank you, Raúl, for your participation. Now we have the space, one of our guests to have in these spaces, Natalia León. She is international cooperation. She has worked in Africa, and she is part of Water Aid Colombia, and to generate a local impact in communities. Natalia is going to be with Daul Arguelles. He works in La Guajira. Natalia, the microphone is yours. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Tatiana. Thank you, everybody. I have a little problem with my camera, but I know that the agenda is very tight and time is short. So I'm going to start now. For me, it is a great honor and a privilege to be here with you, to learn from what you have learned as well, and to share with other communities that are making this possible. From WaterAid, we have been working for a long time now to generate opportunities in faraway places that have no access to sanitation and water access. And we have been working hard with faraway communities since 1981. We have been working to improve poverty, to try to have more equity, clean water, good sanitation, and good hygiene. Since 2016, we have been working in WaterAid in Colombia to be able to work with other 34 countries. And the only one that is present in South America is Colombia. And that gives us big challenges. We have a great regional importance, and how to create a pilot in Colombia that could be replicated in other regions that need to have access to clean water and sanitation. WaterAid has achieved in the world more than 25, to reach 25 million people with clean water and 24 million people with sanitation. We are working in La Guajira. In La Guajira is a different context than coffee landscapes. La Guajira is a desert, like you know, it's a peninsula in the northern of Colombia. It's the biggest, second biggest indigenous population in Colombia, the Wayuu community. 97% of Colombia, according to numbers, reports access to drinkable water and 90% access to sanitation. But when we go to the rural area, it's only 42% that have access to water and 6% that has access to sanitation. In La Guajira, when we try to come up with the figures, 16% of the population, only 16 has access to clean water, to potable water. But only 4% of the population has access to sanitation. Here we have a population that 60% has malnutrition, and since 2 years ago, one child from the Wayuu community dies because of malnutrition or diseases related to lack of water. And our work is not to generate infrastructure or access to our resource. We work to protect life and protect life in Colombia and in the world. And we have good allies like the ones that we have today, LWR, Starbucks Foundation, Osprey, and the people here in these panels have spoken about their experience and their support and the democratization of water use and sanitation. From WaterAid, and I try to emphasize in each one of these spaces, I would like you to ask yourself a few questions. It's the first time that everybody, and I mean globally, feels, knows, understands the importance of water, because unfortunately, the lack of access to water is something that affects millions of populations, and many of them don't even have a voice. They're rural communities. But we know that soap and water is the first defense against this COVID pandemic. And this has made water even more visible and more important worldwide. We are in the best moment so that together we can move that balance and to bring a critical mass to wear the hat of water protectors and help us make visible those that don't even have a voice, and to have equity regarding water and sanitation. This is the best moment to speak about water now, today, and we have to do it by ourselves. Each one of us can help, and it's important the institutionality, the alliances, shared responsibilities, and this is a moment that is unique because it helps us understand the role of each one of us as citizens to help us overcome a problem that should not continue in the future. How do we do this? And how are we approaching this work? With hand in hand with the communities, working with different actors like you are working, with a focus in sustainability, emphasizing in innovation and learning, and with a public politics of water and sanitation for the rural areas. I'm going to try to solve my camera problem. So now Dawood can open your microphone. So people like Dawood, they are anonymous heroes that are working hard day to day, generating opportunities in our territories. So Dawood, I would like you to tell all the audience with your own words, how is the experience with water aid when we reach that territory, and what are the challenges for water protection? Right now, not exactly with coffee landscapes, but in the Guajira territory. Dawood? Thank you, Natalia, and thank you, Dawood. Dawood, welcome to our conversation. The idea is to have at least some interaction with those that have conversation. So I wanted to tell everybody that we are recording the event and that we will be sending access to the information that has been published here, to the slides and the videos that have been shown here. All this virtual era during the pandemic gives us a lot of opportunities because all of your questions are going to be answered, maybe not on this live session, but we will try to answer all of your questions through the chat or through the mail. At the end of the event, we are going to have a short survey, and that will give us feedback to improve. Right now, I would like to open the conversation so that Dawood, in representation of WaterAid, Biodiversal, Dr. Raúl from Federación Nacional de Cafeteros can interact, and Matea as well from Starbucks Foundation, or maybe interact a little bit about the question and to have a little short time for Q&A. You can raise your hand if you wish, and I will give you the floor. Thank you, Emilio. I got connected in another device. So thank you so much to our allies, LWR, Lutheran Foundation, Orbis Foundation. So I just wanted to say hello now with my camera. Sorry, technology sometimes doesn't work in our favor. Thank you. If there is a specific question from the audience, Do you want to interact or do you want to read the questions of the chat? It's your choice.
Daud, ¿estás ahí presente?
Daud, are you there?
Creo que tú tenías unas palabras preparadas también para compartir.
Daud, you had a few words? Yes, I did. I'm going to share my screen. But before, I would like to thank everybody for the invitation to this important webinar. We know that we have the consequences of climate change, and we that are in La Guajira. In La Guajira, like you know, is an area where we have extreme climates. Sometimes we have a rainy season, but most of the time we have a lot of drought. So those are extreme situations that affect all of the families of La Guajira. We, like WaterAid, we have been working for 4 years in the territory, but before WaterAid arrived, we already have been working with Agua Viva Colombia, that is part of WaterAid. Also, I wanted to tell you that we here in La Guajira, we are implementing many processes with the indigenous population. And we have priority so we have been working in different systems that were not being used. La Guajira has more than 15,000 indigenous communities with a lot of problems. I would say that more than 80% do not have access to safe water. Others have wells. We, as a team of WaterAid, we are supporting vulnerable population to have access to safe water and to improve sanitation and hygiene. We also strengthen local organization so that we have a good management of already installed water supplies so that these can be sustainable. We also have processes of training and sensibilization around the importance and the protection of water sources and an efficient use. We try to have mills, to have pumps, to have solar panels, electricity, wells, and try to have access to different water sources. Protecting them and trying to be also innovative. Sometimes they have a broken mill or the desalinization processes get damaged, or they don't have electricity, or the solar panels are damaged. They have to have alternative water sources. So we have alliances. We work with different allies. They are fundamental so that the organizations support us. Like you can see on the slide, we have a list of our allies. We have to go community by community, developing processes, and we cannot stay in only one territory to give them support and give continuity to that community. So our allies have to help us, maybe private allies or other institutions. We have to have help to support us with, for example, Corpo Guajira, with the Secretary of Indigenous Businesses. We work with the health secretaries or the tables of WAS. Those are interesting alliances because it gathers all of the sectors that are working in the territory. And finally, we work at the department and municipal level in risk management. Because I was telling you before that when we have a rainy season, we have floods and we have emergencies and there's a lot of risk. Most of the time we have drought, and risk management, of course, has to work because the animals die and the water sources dry out. There was a study case about Choponoroi. It's a micro aqueduct and it's multi-communitary. And we had here some challenges and lessons learned. It was a micro aqueduct that was benefiting 28 communities, but only 30% of those communities received the supply of water. The elevated tank was damaged, and the location of the system where the deep well was, it was used for growing pigs because the tank overflowed and it was a very muddy area, and the water was kept there and it was like mud, and it was a great place for growing pigs. There was nobody to take care of the system, and there was no door that they could open and close. Here we see how the micro aqueduct was. All of the members of the community had access to the system. They only opened the water faucet, and then somebody from another community could come and close the faucet and open another faucet. So there was no communication among the communities that were using the well.
Para que nos ayudes a redondear, porque me da pena con los asistentes que tenían programado el tiempo hasta las 12.
Sorry, but our time is over. Unfortunately, we don't have any more time. So unfortunately, we are out of time. So the trust generation, the follow-up, the accompaniment was the first thing that we could do in these cases. I heard that sleeping in the communities is very important because this generates trust from the communities. We are supporting all those processes, but we have a lot of incidents in training, and we have women as the first line, because women are the ones that suffer the most when the community doesn't have water. So we really included women in all of our activities. Our direct participation is important. We also have different training processes. Some of them are very playful. We have generated different kinds of games for the awareness creation of awareness about water topics. Finally, we have a parqués game that we designed, and it approaches the 4 areas. Hygiene on the right-hand side. You see everything, all of the components of the parqués game. The first one is a toilet. The second one is a boy raking. The other one is a mill. And the other one is a toothbrush. The dice you see are drops of water. So these games have been very useful. So the hygiene processes are directed to the schools, to the children, to the families. So there are also some schools and daycare that we have been working with family well-being. So we have improved their schools and sanitation inside the schools. So that is the end of my presentation. There are many more words to say, but maybe in a next opportunity. Thank you, Dawood. Thank you, Dawood, for all your information. Unfortunately, we are over time now, so we invite once again everybody for future interaction. The doors are open. Tatiana and Liliana, please, can you put on the screen our email? If you have any more questions, if you need more information, or if you want to work with us, you are going to receive in your emails all the videos and the links to the presentations. Our Foundation Offspring, we have the commitment of continue exploring how to do advances, important advances in the coffee world. So the door is open also from World Relief for future interactions. We're speaking about cultural barriers, changes in the behavior of the communities, how feasible would it be to extend projects like this to other places? So we are going to do follow-up. Can we put, please, the email? It's right here on the chat right now. This is the email that you can write to. It's in the chat right now. Unfortunately, we are over time now. I would like to close. I know that the mayor is online. I don't know if he can say some words, or maybe somebody from San Jorge, maybe the president of the community board.
Bueno, buenas tardes para todos. Mi nombre es Álvaro Lozano.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Álvaro Lozano. I'm the president of the Community Board of San Jorge. Thank you, Lutheran, for all of the actions taken here, for everything that we have learned. Right now, we are sad because Lutheran is leaving, and it's a sad moment, but we are very thankful for being part of the community, for supporting us, for teaching us, for all the lessons learned, because we have cleaned our waters, we have protected our waters, and right now we have clean water in our basins. And I would like to invite all the organizations We welcome all the organizations, and we really want to thank everybody. And we are going to continue working because there's a lot to do in the future. We have to do a lot to do ahead, but already the first stone has been set that we can build upon. We were victims of the armed conflict for a long time, and we are glad to progress and continue working. Thank you so much to all of our audience for your dedication, for your time, your space, and let's hope that we continue working together, our country in general, so that the rural development can continue dignifying the lives of the people. Liliana, Tatiana, Danilo, Dao, Dr. Hector, Edward, Caroline, Leonardo, thank you so much for being here. We will keep in contact. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye. See you later. Thank you, everybody. Have a good day. Goodbye. Goodbye. Thank you, everybody.
Buen día.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good day.
Muchas gracias para todas y todos. Estaremos compartiendo los
Thank you, everybody. We will be sharing everything from the event, the slides, and the videos. We will be sharing it through your emails. Thank you so much.
La encuesta, no se olviden de llenar la encuesta.
The survey. Don't forget the survey.
Muchas gracias a todos. Muchas gracias, Liliana, Lutheran y a todos.
Thank you so much. Danilo, everybody.